Hello and welcome to Beard Sack. This time we're talking about the CDI.
Yeah, Joe, I am so excited for this stupid episode. I've always wanted a CDI.
Really?
Back when this thing was released, I went to Media Play, and I remember seeing this awesome freaking thing sitting on the shelf with the 2 Zelda games. And I was like, oh my god, I want one of these so bad, but the price was through the roof.
Yeah, I remember seeing like a movie being played on it or something at Media Play.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, yeah, new technology. But, still though, why don't you tell us all about it? Because I still don't know.
Okay.
After all these years, 20 years.
Yeah, well, okay, here's a little bit about the CDI itself.
The CDI, Compact Disc Interactive. Philips, who is one of the designers of the original audio CD format, designed and launched the CDI platform in late 1991. The original idea was to give consumers the brave new world of CD-ROM technology, and at $700 it was much lower in price than a full-fledged personal computer. Many different models of the CDI were made, most often by Philips and Magnavox. The unit could play CDI discs, audio CDs, photo CDs, and also video CDs with the optional digital video cartridge. The system had a wide array of different controllers like this thing, and also some more standard looking controllers. A lot of educational and multimedia titles were produced, but the system also featured its fair share of games. It ran on a hybrid 16/32-bit 68070 CPU with 16.7 million colors, 1 megabyte of RAM, and 8 channels of sound mixed down to a stereo output. What's interesting is that the CDI had a built-in battery chip to keep track of time and game saves and whatnot. But when this battery dies, the system can't even boot up. So what you need to do is grind away the chip and solder a new battery to where the old one connected. Can you even imagine a company today designing something that won't even boot if the non-replaceable battery dies? Overall, the CDI project was a huge financial loss for Philips, but ended up selling about 1 million units in 7 years.
Wow, Joe, that was... Yeah. I really didn't learn anything.
Yeah, well.
Anyway,
everyone knows about the CDI, about the educational games and stuff. But in this episode, we thought we'd take a look at the actual legitimate games that the system has versus all the, encyclopedia stuff and things like that. And Dave has got the first game, and it's a big one. It's one of the most popular games in the world.
Yes. So sit down, hold tight. Here I go. So Tetris on the CDI should be pretty good, right? I'm a pretty big fan of Tetris, and this was one game that I was actually really looking forward to playing. While I somewhat enjoyed playing it, it does have its fair share of problems. Well, I'm not sure if it's problems really, more just my personal preferences maybe. So the first problem I ran into is that there's only one game mode, and it's a mode that I really don't like. It's the type where after every 10 lines the action stops so it can tell you that you've completed a level. I really hate the break in the action, and it's pointless to me. Just add an extra spot by your score that lets you know what level you're on. This version control's okay, it seems to lag a bit after pushing a button, and this is problematic when action gets fast. One other control issue I don't like is that you're only able to rotate your Tetronimos in one direction. I was able to get used to it, but I do like being able to rotate them in both directions. But the game does have some nice photorealistic backgrounds that change with each new level. These are nice to look at, and I even recognize a few of the views here. The music is actually pretty good. Well, that's if you like new age music. It kind of has that Yanni feel to it. I used to like Yanni for some stupid reason, but I don't care for his music anymore. But the music here is actually nice and relaxing. The problem is that you're only going to hear half of each song because the game stops to advance your levels way too often. Overall, I guess I recommend it because it is Tetris.
Hotel Mario might actually be one of the better games on the CDI. That's right, it's actually kind of enjoyable. Basically, the princess has been kidnapped as per usual, and she's hidden in one of Bowser's dastardly hotels. Yeah, I guess he got sick of castles and now he's into hotels. Anyway, the game is kind of confusing to play at first.
If you need instructions on how to get through the hotels, check out the enclosed instruction book.
Oh, thanks Mario, I guess. Your job is to close all the doors on any given screen. Yep, that's it. That's all you need to do. But in order to do that, you'll need to avoid getting hit by the bad guys. You can go up and down through one-way elevators. What kind of hotel has a bunch of one-way elevators? Anyway, you just work your way through the screen, close doors, and complete the level. Why does Mario need to close the doors anyway? I don't really understand this, but it works as a game, so whatever. You can collect coins and other items along the way. You have a jump button as well as a close the damn door button. Sometimes after you've closed the door, an enemy will open it up again to come out of it. These enemies are truly evil and they must be destroyed. You press up to enter a door. You can hide in open doors to avoid enemies which are content just to patrol back and forth all day, or you can hop on them to kill them. The control isn't super responsive, but it's wicked fast for a CDI game, let me tell you. You'll still end up dying a lot. The music changes a little here and there, but it's still very repetitive. Overall, you can certainly do worse on the CDI.
Pac Panic here is another puzzler, and it's definitely one of the best games for the system. This is known as Pact Attack on the other systems like Super Nintendo. This is one fun game, and it mixes elements from Tetris and, of course, Pac-Man. To play, you arrange blocks and ghosts on the screen. Try to arrange the ghosts so that they'll all meet. Eventually, Pac-Man will come down in one of the bundles, and all of the ghosts will turn blue. As you know, when the ghosts are blue, Pac-Man will eat them. If you have all the ghosts lined up nicely, you can earn some big points here. The wooden crates will disappear if you complete a line across the screen like in Tetris. The graphics are really nice and the music is good enough. This is a standout title on the system's library that was only released in Europe.
Burn Cycle is a special kind of awful. Actually, believe it or not, this is supposed to be the killer app for the CDI. This is one of those point-and-click games with slow, full-motion video graphics in them. You're inside someplace and you need to get out because you just stole a whole bunch of sweet-ass data.
The data must have packed. I got a sudden shock rush.
During your daring escape, you shoot enemies down via your aiming reticle. If you die, that's it. Game over. Yep, you only have a single life. Along the way, your team member keeps bugging you again and again.
Talk to me, goddamn you!
She's not long for this world, however, as she quickly gets shot down by an unseen enemy. But be sure to molest her corpse a little bit before you move on. Then you get into the burn cycle and you have to fumble through turning it on and selecting a destination. After you figure all that out and you're finally flying, then you gotta shoot down these space boogers who keep coming at you. If one of them hits you, you guessed it, game over. Good, I don't want to play anymore anyway. I really don't think that this is the game that you want representing an entire platform.
Cutter, come in, Cutter. What's happening? Are you alright?
This is Zenith. I really don't know how to categorize this game, so I won't even try. You control a bouncing ball and you must earn points by landing on these red circle things and then find the end of the level. The ball bounces automatically on its own, so all you have to worry about is controlling the ball's direction and where it'll bounce. There's multiple ways you can die or lose your ball if you aren't careful, so watch out for things like this acid here. Yeah, I know, it doesn't look like acid. It can be challenging at times trying to get your ball into the goal, but it's not horribly difficult. The difficult part of this game is trying not to turn it off in the first 20 minutes of play. I don't know what it is, but this game does absolutely nothing for me. I found the background graphics to be totally repetitive. I guess it's cool that the graphics are 3D-ish, but that's really all it has going for it. The lack of any music at all is pretty annoying. If there was some good music, the game would at least seem better. I honestly found no enjoyment playing this title. It's just not for me.
The Apprentice is one of the very few platformers on the system. You hop or even swim around the vertically scrolling levels, avoiding things like enemies and drips from the ceiling because of course one drop will kill you. In fact, touch anything bad once and you'll die. You can collect a little fly, or maybe it's a fairy, but it'll enable you to take an additional hit. Sometimes you'll need keys to unlock doors to keep going. The game is responsive and that's actually somewhat fun. It's got that crazy European platformer feel. Unfortunately, it's really not very well designed, but the graphics are damn good for the system and even the scrolling is smooth, which kind of surprises me. In the past, I always felt that this console as well as the 3DO were designed with scrolling being an afterthought. The music isn't half bad either. It's a tough game, but I did find myself wanting to keep trying to see how far I could get. If you like challenging Euro platformers, then check this one out.
Here's Link, the Faces of Evil, and Zelda, the Wand of Gamelon. In Faces of Evil, you play as Link, whereas in the Wand of Gamelon, you play as Zelda herself. Both of these games were released on the same day. I remember seeing pictures of these games back in the early 90s and thinking how great they looked. But pictures only show one aspect of a game, and while they look good, the actual games themselves are another story. These titles are just a good example of really poor game design and execution. I like the idea of a side-scrolling Zelda adventure, and in the right hands, like Miyamoto's, these games could really be good. Sadly, everything about them is just bad. The stories are told with animated sequences and the art style is just so ugly. There's nothing appealing about Link, Zelda, or any of the other characters here. And the voice acting is atrocious, and this is coming from someone who has no skill whatsoever.
A whole month gone, and still no word.
I'm certain he's all right.
Yeah, that old Ganon's no match for the king.
Both Link and Zelda control poorly. They move sluggishly, and you have to press up to jump, and in a platformer that's always a bad idea. Swinging your sword is easy enough, but having no upward thrust makes killing flying enemies really tough. As I'm playing these titles, I never really feel that I'm doing anything in them except for harvesting rubies from enemies so I can buy stuff in the shop. And yes, the money here is actually rubies, as you can see here in the original Legend of Zelda manual. Somewhere along the line, Nintendo must have changed it to rupees. You'll be visiting that shop a lot since everything you use has limited quantities. Like if you buy a rope, you'd think you'd be able to use it whenever you want and as many times as you want. Oh no, not in these games. You can only use items you buy 3 times and then they're gone. There's just too much pointless grinding in here to get the things that you need. Plus, to pick up rubies from fallen enemies, you need to stab at them. Why can't I just walk over them like in real video games? Thank God Nintendo didn't let the developers use any of the Zelda music here, as I'm sure it would have been really jacked up. I don't like these games, but I do wonder if there is anyone out there that actually does.
Tetsuo Gaiden is a shooter that kind of reminds me of what Galaga would be like if it were horrible. You start as a fun little spaceship. You move back and forth, but you also have a small amount of vertical movement you can do. The goal is to shoot down each enemy group as they appear on screen. If you get them all, your score increases.
Score increase.
If any of them escape before you shoot them, your score goes down.
Score decrease.
Screw the score, I'm just trying to save the known universe. Now where's my galactic dancing? There's the occasional power-up that floats by, but you'll probably end up shooting it by accident. Even if you don't, they can be tough to grab thanks to their sporadic movement. The backgrounds are a rather boring FMV stream, but there's also a classic mode which gives you boring 2D scrolling backgrounds that never seem to change. What's funny is that the FMV streamed graphics are called future mode, so I guess this is supposed to be the future of video games right here. I don't think video games would be around anymore if this ended up being their future. At least the music is pretty cool though.
Score increase.
The sound effects seem like they're lifted straight from Galaga, and that really makes me yearn for some better gameplay. The game can't even pronounce its own name right.
Tetsuo Gaiden.
In their defense, when this game was made, I pronounced it Gaiden myself, so whatever. The biggest problem with this game is that the enemy shots are so tiny that it's really tough to see them. This is a fun one for 10 or maybe 15 minutes if you really want to push it. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go play some Galaga 90 on my TurboGrafx 16.
Score increase. Score decrease.
2 years after the previous CDI Zelda games, Zelda's Adventure was released. Have you ever wondered what it'd be like to play the original Zelda with digitized people? I haven't either, but the developers at Veritas sure did. Veritas? Sounds like an ailment. I think my Veritas is acting up. The good thing is that the game does try to play like the original game, and it does that pretty well. That's pretty much it for what this game does right. Let's see what it does wrong. First of all, the game uses 2 buttons. One is your action button, and the other opens up the menu screen. Since there's only one action button, you can only have one thing equipped at a time. So for example, say you have your weapon equipped and you want to buy something from a shop. You have to open up the menu and equip the ruby icon, back out of the menu, and then hit the action button to use rubies to pay for your item. Then go back in and equip your weapon again. This is horribly annoying. Then there's the world Zelda travels in. It actually doesn't look bad, and I could get used to the graphics. But the thing I don't like is that there's a lot of areas that can hide enemies, rubies or hearts. Going from screen to screen has a slight load which can get rather irritating. The digitized people are horrifying to look at. Most of the time you can't make out that they're even human until you talk to them. Look at the bartender in the tavern here. Is he wearing a baseball hat? I think he is. Of course, I don't have to mention the quality of the voice acting, as I'm sure you already know is horrible.
I'm so exhausted from my travels. If only I'd known to cross the chasm rift with the ladder, it would have saved me months.
And what is that music that's playing? It sounds like it should be in a Western movie and not a freaking Zelda game. That's just about the only music you'll hear anyways, as there just isn't anything else except the sound of wind blowing. Or is that the game blowing? If you're a fan of the Zelda universe like I am, then this game and the other two come off as very offensive.
Hear me whisper, trust no one with hair. Don't even trust me. I've stolen one of your lives.
All right, Dave, we're about halfway done. What do you think? You liking it?
Not as much as I was wanting to like it. You know, I like Tetris, but...
Well, maybe these games that we've got coming up will change your mind.
God, I hope so, because I'm not really impressed so far.
Okay, let's get back into it. Kingdom, The Far Reaches is an interesting one. This one requires a digital video cartridge, as the entire game is full of hastily drawn cartoon video. You play as Lathan and you're trying to restore an amulet that's been scattered all around the kingdom before the evil Turlock destroys everything you know and love. Basically what you do is choose where you go and, if you can, what to do when you get there. If you choose poorly, then you meet a wretched death. Think of it kind of like a point-and-click Dragon's Lair. You'll die a lot trying to figure out the best path, but you will eventually figure out the correct order in which you need to proceed. For example, you need to cure this blind beggar here before you go to talk to these guys. Try to go to these guys without curing the beggar first and, well, Like I said, it's an interesting game, but once you figure things out, there really isn't much replayability. Jeez! There's also a sequel called Kingdom Shadowin. In this one, you still play as Lathan, only several years older. You need to collect the last two pieces of the amulet that you were trying to collect in the first game. This one is more the same, basically, except it seems a lot more tame. Your death scenes are pretty lame, just floating away or even falling asleep. But the map is still pretty big, so it may take you a bit to figure out what you need to do. All in all, I think I prefer the first one because the death scenes were a lot better.
Tell us the secret you know, old man.
I know you look and smell like a baboon, but that's no secret. Thanks, I needed that. Let him go or... Uh-oh. Thanks for trying, kid, but you better leave before you become a porcupine.
Micromachines made an appearance on the CDI. This should make everybody happy, because who doesn't like a Micromachines game? I always like the idea of racing tiny cars on human-sized surroundings like a billiards table or a workbench or even a kitchen table. Not only are there cars and trucks to race, but you can even race a boat around the bathtub avoiding rubber ducks. As with all other versions of the game, this one is pretty fun to play. It's fairly responsive even with the CDI's less than stellar controller. There's tons of races here, which is a good thing. The bad thing is that you're stuck racing with the ugly yellow vehicle. It would have been nice to be able to choose the color of your car. The game looks pretty and all the tracks look good, but the downside here is that the game is kind of choppy and slow. Compare it to the NES and Genesis versions here and you can clearly see how the CDI version runs in comparison. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but there you have it. And my last complaint is that there's no save feature, so you'll have to start from the beginning every time. But that might be alright because the game does have a good soundtrack. Unfortunately though, it's all in mono. It's not high quality stuff, but it's far from unenjoyable. If I ever decided to get a CDI, then this game would be in my collection for sure.
Solar Crusade by Infogrames is an FMV crosshair shooter that requires the digital video cartridge. Basically, you thought you've killed all of the aliens, but you find a ship and it turns out that you haven't killed all the aliens, so now you need to go kill the rest of the aliens. There's only enough room for one species in this universe, and that's gonna be humans. Basically, the game goes wherever the video stream takes it, and you move your crosshair around and shoot things. You can switch between various weapons, and all of them have a very limited capacity. Who thought it would be a good idea to limit the amount of your shots in a crosshair shooter? Anyway, the stage keeps looping over and over again, so I must not be shooting something that I'm supposed to. The game could certainly be more clear about its objectives. This is like a laser active game, only much worse, if you can actually believe that.
Escape from Cyber City is a shooter game that plays like you're watching an anime movie. You have a crosshair on screen that you can move all around and shoot enemies and use it to dodge obstacles. The game plays like a choose-your-own-adventure book. At the beginning of each scene, you can choose to take the left or right path. It's all done while looking at nicely drawn anime. Playing the game with the standard controller is horrible. There are two main problems that I can see. Firstly, you have just a split second to train your crosshairs on whatever needs to be shot. Secondly, controlling the crosshair is cumbersome and very inaccurate. These two things don't mix, so it makes the game nearly impossible. I played this game through at least 20 tries and I was barely able to get past the first handful of screens, and this was on the easiest setting. I wish we had the mouse, because then I think we would be able to make some real progress in this game. Since I don't have access to the mouse, I guess I won't be escaping from Cyber City.
Kether is another wonderful game from Infogrames. This one doesn't need a digital video cartridge, surprisingly. You start out by waking up from hibernation and piloting a ship. Yep, that's it. You can't even shoot. Your job is simply to avoid getting hit. But if you do get hit, you can always grab these green things to replenish your shield. You arrive at your destination and are presented with a simple tile matching puzzle. Oh, this is fun. Tell me again why the CDI didn't set the world on fire. Anyway, I guess I didn't solve it in few enough moves, or maybe I won, I have no clue. Because now I'm flying my ship around strange places again. At least I'm flying somewhere different. Okay, I'm here. Anyone have puzzles for me to do? Alright! This one's like the classic game Simon. I wonder what happens if I miss a note in the sequence. What? Now I'm in a first-person dungeon for no reason whatsoever with demons attacking me just for missing a note. This never happened when I played Simon as a kid. I recommend that you stay away from Kether here, as it really doesn't have anything exciting to offer.
Mutant Rampage Body Slam is definitely one of the better games to come out for the CDI. But just because it's one of the better games for the system doesn't necessarily mean that it's a great game. Well, here's my 2 cents and then you can decide. So as you can see, it's a beat 'em up. There's a very uninteresting storyline that's set in the future. It's about how humans are inferior to the rest of the mutants who have taken over the world.
It's a mutant!
You take control of 3 humans to show that your race matters or some nonsense like that. It's all done through low-quality animated cutscenes. Anyway, the game itself is actually kind of fun to play. Your character controls pretty well, though he or she doesn't have much in the way of moves. But you have your punch, kick, and a special move that of course takes away from your life bar. At certain points during each level, you can switch between the 3 characters, which I actually thought was a nice feature. There's a lot of enemies to fight in this game, and as usual with beat-em-ups, there's not a lot of variety in these enemies. The good thing is that each area mostly has its own specific enemies. So you won't see any of these ugly ninja things from the China area in the LA area and so forth. But there are a couple of enemies here and there that show up in multiple areas. All of the levels are full of color with decent looking backgrounds. Weapons can be picked up as well as 1-ups and food to replenish your life. You can even punch this guy's head off and then pick up the head to attack other enemies with it. That's pretty cool. The only bad thing is that the way the enemies battle seems to be unpolished. A lot of the time you'll have to chase your enemies around the screens just so you can fight them. The music is there, but not really notable. Joe says he kinda likes it, but I don't know, it just didn't do much for me. This would be just an average brawler on another system, but for the CDI, it's one of its shining stars.
Thunder in Paradise Interactive is based on an old TV show with Hulk Hogan that ran for an entire season. It's about two ex-Navy SEALs who are mercenaries for hire. Unfortunately, you don't get to play as Hulk Hogan. Instead, you play as the kid who lives down the block that you never talk to. You can choose to watch the show without playing the game portions, or even play the game parts without any of the story getting in the way. Or there's the interactive television mode where you get everything.
Rock and roll, buddy.
Anyway, that kid from down the block that you never talk to can jack into the boat and control the guns. You can face all 4 directions, and there's always a ton of stuff coming at you at once. This part really sucks.
This isn't a video game, Zach. Around here, game over has a whole nother meaning.
Okay, not a video game. This is interactive television. Got it. This part goes on way too long, and it's pretty tough to hit things with your crosshair.
Hey man, this ain't no video arcade. Hit something!
Why is this game putting so much effort into telling me that it's not a game? Anyway, you get past that, and now you're roaming around outside. Every time you come to a standstill, enemies attack and you can shoot them back. It's awfully nice of the bad guys not to attack until you're completely still. The future of video games is awesome. It can still be hard to hit people with the crosshair.
The bad guys, man! Shoot the bad guys! You ain't wimping out on me, are you?
Hey, come on, I'm trying, man. Leave me alone. Anyway, you can also play this game with a light gun, but I don't have one to try, but it's gotta be better than this.
Maybe I didn't make myself clear. You're supposed to hit the bad guys.
Well, brother, I could if you program this game a little better. But even if you die, the game still moves on to the next area.
You'll never get to me. Never.
Was that Razor Ramon and Snake Plissken's love child?
For real.
Obviously, as you've guessed, this one definitely requires a digital video cartridge. As a game, there's not much here, and as a show, there obviously wasn't much there either.
I'm really disappointed.
DQ.
Buddy.
Here's the Mighty Atlantis, The Last Resort. This is the only first-person shooter on the system. It really isn't anything great, and in fact it's fairly bland. There's not a lot of variety in the graphics, and you'll be fighting the same enemies a lot. The levels are all fairly basic and have no real atmosphere to them. Does the look of this enhance your experience? Not mine. The game's engine seems to work fine, and it plays well enough, it's just that there isn't anything exciting going on here to keep you interested. Look at this level. All the walls and water reflections look exactly the same. It's very easy to get lost in here. You do have a map, but come on. You have no way to look up or down, and you can't strafe, so this really is as basic as it gets. There's just way too much repetition from the level backgrounds to the music. And oh god does this music suck. I would steer clear of this game if it was something that you were interested in.
We were going to take a good look at The Seventh Guest. This is a highly regarded game that appeared on a bunch of different platforms. Basically, a crazy guy builds a weird house, invites 6 people, and says that one of the guests hasn't arrived yet. You wander throughout the house and creepy stuff happens. I guess it's supposed to be creepy. I mean, it's not scary at all because I know the house is brand new. Older houses are much more creepy. There's puzzles in the game to figure out, but unfortunately, the game crashes whenever a puzzle starts. This is a known issue with early versions of the game running on certain models of CDI hardware. So right here is as far as I could get. It has good music and smooth video, but it wasn't even slightly creepy, at least not as far as I played.
And that is the CDI for you. Well, at least mostly we didn't cover every game, but
we didn't cover every
Dave, what are your opinions of the CDI?
They're not positive, as you've heard from most of the games that I've talked about. I just don't see it. Firstly, what is it with stuff with interactive in the title, like 3DO interactive and CD interactive? Does that mean you can automatically charge an extra $300 for your system?
I guess so.
I mean, God. And then, of course, the games are just not fun.
Not really. I mean, there are a few in there that aren't bad.
They're not bad, but you know,
it's a CDI. Who
if
cares,
it was
really?
that same game on, say, the Sega Saturn, it would be a horrible game.
I agree. Or the Sega Genesis, or the Super Nintendo, or whatever.
Exactly.
It just didn't really live up. The CDI didn't really know what it wanted to be, I don't think. And no matter what it tried to be, it didn't do what it tried to be very well.
Right. You know, and I don't know if some of you collect this thing out there and you actually like it, good for you. I'm not going to hate on you because that's something you like.
Yeah.
But this is just not for me. I have no interest in winning.
Yeah. Anyway, what are your favorite games for the CDI, or do you even have any?
I want one?
Yeah. Anyway, let us know what you think of the system, and in the meantime, thank you for watching GameSack.
What's up, Joe?
Oh, hi, Dave. Look, I've got the Super Nintendo. It's a video game system with many great games to play.
What is this, dude? I mean, there's no edutainment, there's no value, you're rotting your brain, there's no education here. This is just garbage. It does nothing for you. Why are you still playing this? What, Joe? You brought me over to look at another brain-rotting game system with fun games on it?
Oh, hi, Dave. Witness the CDI, the Compact Disc Interactive.
Now this is a real super entertainment system. With the CDI system, you can learn and become a productive member of society. There's no rotting of the mind here. Titles like Compton's Interactive Encyclopedia bring out the maximum potential of the human mind through learning. And if you must have fun, there's always titles like Textiles, Jigsaw, and Treasures of the Smithsonian. This is truly a great system and the only one needed by youth and adults. Joe, you are a great friend. Here's my only copy of Twinkle Tail and I want you to have it.